What is up guys, this is Mr. Ninja Boy, and today I'm going to start a new series guiding you guys through Photoshop, starting from the very basics and essential to eventually getting into the more advanced stuff in graphic design. My goal here is to maintain simplicity in this series and to make it possible for literally anyone to learn to use Photoshop, even if you've just started and are already confused just looking at the interface. Don't worry, I can understand. It may be daunting the first time you open Photoshop with all these options. In fact, it can be intimidating at first starting with any new program. But my goal here is to show you guys how simple yet powerful Photoshop really is. The sky is truly the limit with what you can do with it. If you guys don't know, this channel isn't only focused on gaming. In fact, I've started it with tutorials on game development. By the way, you can check that on the channel if you want to. But I've always really enjoyed teaching you guys my tips and tricks and passing on my knowledge I got in certain programs to newcomers and to people looking to improve. So I'm quite excited to start the series. Later on, we're going to be doing some really exciting stuff like making thumbnails, making logos, complex graphic art, and much more. But in this first tutorial, we're just going to focus on the very basics of Photoshop. This is the perfect guide for someone who's just begun using Photoshop. So like any program, the best way to familiarize yourself to it at first would be to get a hang of the interface and all its features. So we're going to do just that. Then as we dive deeper into this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys a collection of simple yet essential features that you must learn while first starting. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, so let's get started with learning the interface. Now, to make sure that we're all on the same page with the interface itself, with all its features, all the windows, everything, let's go to Window and then Workspace, and then make sure you're checked on Essentials Default, which is basically going to ensure that we have all the same features and everything. Alright, so now let's proceed and make our first file, our first project you can call it. So let's go to New, File, and then New. And then this is basically the window where we're going to do all the settings for our project. So first of all, we can name the project whatever we want. I'm just going to name it example for the tutorial's sake. And then for the width and height, you can later on, you can do whatever you want, mattering on what sort of project you want. Let's say you want to do like a Twitter header or something, and then there's certain like dimensions you want to do, then you choose that. But for now, we're going to do it a standard 1920 by 1080 dimension for this project, 1080, and then make sure you're always selected on pixels. Okay, this is important. So for the width and height, you want to be on the same units essentially, but we're going to be working with pixels because it's the easiest. I mean, I don't really work with centimeters or millimeters, inches on the computer. It just doesn't make sense for me, but I mean, I guess it matters on what you're doing. But for me, pixels, for now, we're going to work with pixels for both width and height. And yeah, I was going to say for me, it's just the easiest because, you know, everything is in pixels on the computer. So, yeah, so just select everything here. It doesn't really matter if what you do for the bit depth. I'm just gonna go with 16-bit, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's press continue, or okay, and then we continue to this screen, which gives us by default we're just gonna have a blank white square. So this is, as you guys can see right here to the right, this is basically like the layers tab. This shows us all the layers, all the elements, everything that is included in the project. So all we have now, this is basically like a very blank project. All we have is this background white box sort of thing. So to first get started, and we're just gonna unlock this layer because by default when you make a new project, the first layer is locked. So we don't really have a lot of freedom to like move it around and stuff. So what we're gonna do is actually